The MoneroTopia weekly news segment is sponsored by WizardSwap.io, a non-custodial cryptocurrency exchange.
And some of this I'm looking at for the first time. Tony was going to do news today, but ran out of time for him, so I will be doing the news. So first up, we've got a post on Reddit. Sighted in Frankfurt, Germany. So someone saw a Monero sticker in the wild, and it does actually look like it was in the wild because it looks a little bit dirty. It's got some other sticker on it, so seems pretty legit. People seem to see Monero stickers in major cities all over the world. Pretty cool. So keep putting your stickers out, guys. Keep tagging. People notice it. Next link is another post on Reddit, and it reads, CoinCards had a hole in the system and is also blaming Monero. So recently, CoinCards had a security incident that was posted on August 4th, and it reads, a vulnerability in one of our systems was exploited. The total financial impact was in the tens of thousands of dollars. The attacker behind this incident used privacy-preserving tools to carry out and obscure the fraud, mainly Monero, a tool we've long supported and accepted at CoinCards. We believe in the right to transact privately. We've spent years advocating for privacy tools because they protect users, not just from surveillance, but from overreach, censorship, and financial exclusion. But privacy, like any tool, can be abused, and in this case, it was. What makes this especially difficult is that it came from within a community we've stood beside and supported for years. It's disappointing and frankly disheartening that someone would use Monero to steal a significant amount from a small hardworking team like ours. It sucks. That sounds a little bit a weird way to put that. Sort of shifting the blame onto Monero or the Monero community for an exploit in their own environment and their own system that they use for processing cards. It's like, of course, if something exists, people are going to abuse it. There's going to be someone that's going to abuse the system. That's unsurprising, but I don't think Monero is really at the fault here, and I don't think that's a very that should be the point of them reporting this security incident. It is very unfortunate that they lost tens of thousands of dollars. CoinCards has been around for a long time, and they've been a very reliable service. I know I met the two of the people that run CoinCards. They're awesome. Seems a little bit misplaced of a report, but nonetheless, they were hacked and they were exploited for some money, which is unfortunate to see. And next up, we got another post on Reddit, and it reads, what should I do to help? I am a longtime believer in XMR and have held since 2018. What is the most practical way I can support the project in these challenging times? Would it help the most to run a full node? If I can't do that, what's the second best? Is there any other way to help that is relatively cheap/free? The easy answer to that is what someone commented down here. I would recommend utilizing XM rig. You can run it basically on your machine. Yeah. Basically, the answer to that, if you want to help Monero the most right now, is just mine. You have any spare machine, even if it's low end, just mine. Use P2Pool. By doing that, you're helping to further decentralize the network. And obviously, one computer isn't going to be a lot, but a lot of computers, even with low hash rate, can start to make a difference. So just mining is the best thing you can do right now if you want to support the network. And of course, you will get rewarded for doing that as well, in the form of non-KYC'd Monero, by the way. And next up, we got a post, another post on Reddit that reads, how can I sell my book with Monero? I'm writing a sci-fi book about how Satoshi Nakamoto invented Bitcoin. I'll be selling it via Bitcoin and Monero. I can use Cakewall and then email readers a PDF/EPUB of my book. However, is there some way to automate this process? Something simple to set up and let readers buy my book. I wonder if there's been any suggestions for XMR. There we go. There's one here. Sounds like you, sir, need XMR Bazaar. I think that's what you're looking for. Basically, the eBay of Monero. And you can even set it up so that the user pays and they get a download immediately of the PDF or EPUB, fully automated. So to you, sir, and I'm glad thank you to Matt Sarmiento for mentioning XMR Bazaar. You, sir, need to use XMR Bazaar because that'll fully automate this process for you. And next up, we've got a post on X from Camus. If you sign up for Digital ID, it'll be the last truly free decision you ever make. Dr. Michael Yeadon, a toxicologist and former Pfizer executive, issues a dire warning. Digital ID isn't convenience, it's control. Once adopted, governments and institutions will recognize you only through the system. You cease to exist as a person. You become a QR code, an address to resources that can be edited, restricted, or revoked at will. Your money, travel, even food will depend on compliance. Your vaccination status will dictate validity. Dissent, your funds freeze. Wrong zone, transaction denied. This isn't speculation, it's planned. Documents confirmed. Digital ID remains active only if you obey. Refuse a mandated jab, lose access. Speak wrong thoughts, locked out. The system is designed to force compliance through deprivation. I think a lot of those things are true, but at the same time, I do think that people forget that we kind of already have digital ID. This kind of has existed for the last couple decades at least. It's called Real ID. And it is enforced now. If you get a driver's license now, there's no way to opt out of it. And so we do sort of have that, unfortunately. And so I think that kind of plays into all of this, is that they're going to start using this thing that they set up a couple decades ago that they've been slowly pushing more and more. They're going to take that into advantage a lot more going forward, like they have been over the past several years. Because if you have a Real ID, then you already exist in a federal centralized government database as your identity. And same thing if you get a passport, fortunately. So in some ways, it's just been around for a while, and people don't realize it. But it's very possible we'll see these things used more in the future to deprive you of your rights. Moving on. Next up, we've got a post from Peter Van Valkenburg. Commissioner Pierce just gave a must-read speech offering one of the clearest defenses of financial privacy in the context of crypto and new technologies yet articulated. As she says, we should take concrete steps to protect people's ability not only to communicate privately, but to transfer value privately, as they could have done with physical coins in the days in which the Fourth Amendment was crafted. Most fears of financial privacy and a technology that enables it flow from a genuine desire to protect this nation from enemies and criminals. Somewhat, I would say. Continue reading. Safeguarding our families, communities, and country from harm is extremely important. But curtailing financial privacy and impeding disintermediating technologies are the wrong approach. Denying people financial privacy, whether through sweeping surveillance programs or restrictions on privacy protecting technologies, undermines the fabric and freedoms of our families, communities, and nation. The American people and their government should guard zealously people's right to live private lives and to use technologies that enable them to do so. I have the written speech. There are pointers to deep analysis of the overbreadth of U.S. financial surveillance laws, including a citation to a paper Coin Center published last year on dangerous ambiguities in the Bank Secrecy Act, which is very notorious, and how they could be abused to mandate that every American who pays or is paid register with the Treasury Department and regularly report the details of her monetary transactions as if she were a bank or other financial institution. Commissioner Pierce also cites two other federal laws, 60501 and Patriot Act Section 311, that are, in Coin Center's opinion, already being abused to harm the legitimate privacy expectations of law-abiding Americans. Read the whole thing. Link in the next post. I think that was pretty well said. And if you do want to look into this more, some of what has been uncovered here, then you can do so through the link that'll be in this post. Goes to a sec.gov website that has the paper written by Commissioner Hester M. Pierce. Moving on, we've got another video from Frank Corva. This once again posted on X. The Tornado Cash trial has concluded. Roman Storm has been found guilty of the conspiracy to operate an unlicensed MTB charge. Here are my thoughts on the outcome, the government's rejected motion to remand Storm, and what comes next. Play the first part of this video here.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Frank Corva, political reporter for Bitcoin Magazine here. We are here at the final day of the Tornado Cash trial. I was just in the courtroom as the verdict was read aloud. Classic New York. We got some sirens in the background. Give me a second here. I think it's common knowledge now that the verdict, Storm was found guilty on count 2 which is the conspiracy to operate an unlicensed money transmission business. The jury was not unanimous on counts 1 and 3. Count 1 being the money laundering charge, and count 3 being the sanctions evasion charge. Has a more official name, but I'm not going to share that here. The IEPA charge, I'll use the acronym. The last part, I'm not sure how public this has been made, but there was a motion to remand Storm to keep him in prison to prevent any sort of flight risk. And Ms. Klein of the defense did an excellent job, made an excellent case for why he should not be where he shouldn't be remanded. I'm going to actually write about these things. I'm not going to get into all the details here. The government pushed back. I'm sorry, I said Ms. Klein. Ms. Axel of the defense did a great job explaining why he shouldn't be remanded. Government pushed back. Ms. Axel spoke up again. The judge ended up saying the stability of the verdict is still very much in play. This is reason for him to stay here. And then he has met the standard where he's not at risk of flight. And his incentives, the judge believes that his incentives to stay and fight here are strong, and therefore he's not a flight risk. So the judge denied the motion to remand, and that's about it. I'll continue covering this to the best of my ability wherever we go next, whether this moves. I believe it's going to move to the appellate courts. I'll be doing a written piece today. I did not get a chance to speak with Storm or with the defense team. Most of the courtroom is cleared out at this point. I want to give a shout out to the other reporters who were here doing amazing work. Eleanor Terrett from Crypto in America. David Morris probably deserves the biggest shout out. He's from The Rage. He's done an absolutely incredible job in covering all this. He's been here, I think, writing about this in more depth than anyone. Cheyenne Langone from CoinDesk, and Alex from DL News. I'm from spacing out on his last name, plus a handful of other reporters that were here doing really good work. It's been an emotional event, kind of on the verge of tears talking about it. It's been hard to both sit there and watch the Samurai devs plead guilty, take the plea deal on Thursday. I think it was Thursday. And now this. It's not the worst possible outcome, I guess. I say this as someone who's a proponent of privacy in financial transactions. And I know there's going to be more fighting here. As I said, it'll be brought to the appellate courts. Still kind of sucks. Don't like seeing anybody, the Samurai devs, plead guilty to this or him being found guilty at this. Just it's tough. It's a tough one. I think what we've learned, though, is that, the community that's helped fund his legal defense, the judge even, Ms. Klein brought this up, and she said, the crypto community is behind Storm. I think he feels that. One of the reasons I, along with the other journalists who have been here, remained in the courtroom for these 4 days of deliberation was to just show some sense of camaraderie and some sense of, we're here and we're covering this and we're not going to forget about him. So, hopefully nobody forgets about Roman Storm. And we do the best we can as a community. And I say this as, again, a privacy enthusiast and a Bitcoiner first and foremost before being a reporter here. We continue to do what we can to support these efforts to appeal this case and to support developers of open source technology. I'm going to leave it there. Thanks, everybody, for following all this coverage. And I'll have a written report out tonight.
Wow, guys. That was it wasn't a super long video, but it was kind of, you could tell he got a little emotional there at the end. And I think he's really feeling it. Like he said, he's a reporter, but he's also a Bitcoiner and he's a privacy enthusiast. And privacy has been really becoming attacked over the past few years, especially around cryptocurrency. And while there's some specific nuances to these cases, mainly the fact that they've been making money off of centralized interfaces that are providing privacy and sort of mixing funds and stuff, it's still unfortunate, and it still definitely is an attack on several amendments, even though they're choosing to prosecute these people and go after them anyway. So unfortunate to see, of course, but we will continue fighting for privacy. And like he said, the whole crypto community backs Roman Storm. We all back him. So privacy is not a crime, and you should not be afraid to be able to work on privacy or create code for privacy. Moving on, We got another post from Peter Van Valkenburg, and it reads, CoinCenter's 7 takeaways from the Storm verdict. So number 1, the sole conviction is unlicensed money transmission, which is 18 USC 1960, turns mainly on legal/regulatory interpretation. Does this count as money transmission? Not jury fact-finding. Number 2, the court at the motion to dismiss stage discounted FinCEN's stated guidance on what counts as money transmission in crypto and treated the category as broader than control of customer funds. Interesting. Number 3, with money transmission defined that broadly, the jury's room to decide facts was narrow. The court's interpretation largely dictated the outcome. Number 4, DOJ's prior end regulation by prosecution memo didn't fully resolve 1960 issues, left things open for continued prosecution. Excuse me. The DOJ dropped the failure to register theory, but not the knowingly transmitting criminal funds theory. CoinCenter's view both hinge on transmitting and are improper against developers excluded by FinCEN guidance. Number 5, the BRCA, Blockchain Regulatory Certainty Act, now attached to clarity and passed by the House, would confirm that non-controlling developers aren't money transmitters. It can't help Roman retroactively, but the Senate should pass it on upcoming market structure debates. Number 6, CoinCenter fellow Michael Llewellyn is suing DOJ for a declaration that publishing/maintaining his software isn't unlicensed money transmission. CoinCenter will continue supporting this effort to correct the legal interpretation. Number 7, CoinCenter is sorry Roman faces sentencing on a theory that contradicts the regulator's guidance. He should appeal the denial of his motion to dismiss. CoinCenter will assist however possible. Pretty interesting. That was some good context into this ongoing case. Well, I guess mostly finished case at this point.
Just as a quick interjection there.
Yeah, go ahead, buddy.
If he was going to get convicted, or if he was going to get, yeah, if the jury was going to convict him, this is actually one of the better outcomes because this was one of the more legally shaky propositions of the entire prosecution. So he has the best chance in appeal at appealing the legal conclusions that the judge had determined prior to this case. And the other thing I want to point out is that this judge is a scumbag. They did everything possible to suppress all of the things that would have tended to that would have helped him at trial. And then after the trial, he's like, well, you know, I'm not gonna force him to be remanded to prison. You know, the judge is basically trying to play the political game as if they were just a neutral party this whole time. They weren't. They suppressed almost everything that he really needed at trial. And then now is kind of throwing him a bone after the fact to try and save face.
Super fucking scummy. And next up, we've got another post from Zack Shapiro, and it reads, today's verdict was awful and can set a dangerous precedent. Same with last week's guilty pleas. But the worst thing we can do right now is embrace the chilling effect and tell builders to stop building. The Blanche memo is still in place, and there is no need to preemptively bow to DOJ's unjust overreach in the SW plus TC Samurai Wallet and Tornado Cash prosecutions. Embrace the cypherpunk ethos and keep pushing forward. And if you need legal advice for a non-custodial tool you are building, my DMs are always open. And once again, I guess guilty pleas don't exactly set precedent, but it's still not a nice thing to see. People taking guilty pleas kind of assumes that the outcome was not going to be good for them in the first place.
I want to point out that the lawyers in this space are also acting like scumbags to the extent that they're not explaining to the public and to developers the factors involved here and why that combination of factors could be legally problematic, and sort of publicly saying, hey, here's how you can keep yourself safe, 1, 2, 3, right? They're not doing that. Instead, they're all like, hey, just, selling their services. Come consult me. Let me help you stay safe. And it's like, well, y'all didn't help Samurai or Tornado stay safe in the beginning. And me, fucking pleb, 5 years ago was like, hey, it looks to me like Tornado's kind of weak legally. So I'm kind of disappointed with the freedom lawyers in the space right now as well.
Next up, we've got a article or a press release from the U.S. Attorney's Office. And it reads, founder of Tornado Cash crypto mixing service convicted of knowingly transmitting criminal proceeds. So this is just continuing what we read from individuals. This is the official press release from the Southern District of New York, of course. Tornado Cash founder Roman Storm knowingly operated a money transmitting business that transmitted more than $1 billion in criminal proceeds. United States Attorney for the Southern District of New York, Jay Clayton, announced today the conviction of Roman Storm, a co-founder of Tornado Cash, a cryptocurrency mixer that facilitated more than $1 billion in illegal transactions, for willfully conspiring to operate a money transmitting business that moved more than $1 billion in dirty money. The defendant was found guilty following a 4-week jury trial before the U.S. District Judge Catherine Polk Phila. Roman Storm and Tornado Cash provided a service for North Korean hackers. Whoa, guys. He provided this service just for North Korean hackers and other criminals to move and hide more than $1 billion U.S. of dirty money, said U.S. Attorney Jay Clayton. The speed, efficiency, and functionality of stablecoins and other digital assets offer great promise, but that promise cannot be an excuse for criminality. Criminals who use new technology to commit age-old crimes, including hiding dirty money, undermine the public trust, and unfairly cast a shadow on the many innovators who operate lawfully. This office and our partner agencies are committed to holding accountable those who exploit emerging technology to commit crime. This whole case is just super fucked up. Like this is even more fucked up than the Samurai Wallet case, in my opinion. Considering him being charged for unlicensed money transmitting, is just totally just not right. It's just totally not right. There's no other way to put it.
They completely ignored the FinCEN guidance, right?
That was thrown at them. Yep.
Um,
and all the other points Spotty was saying.
Yeah, and all the points Spotty was saying, and like this, the Zack is you brought up the Zack Shapiro tweet. I had him on the show a few weeks ago. Buddy has a point, right? I mean, like, they're out here. They're claiming to, the lawyers are claiming to be, on our side, help everyone, but they're also kind of apprehensive about really kind of sticking up for us when we need them to, and saying the things that need to be said out and open. It's like, consult us for our services. But hey, I mean, I can't blame them for that either, right? People got to make a living. So I won't really criticize them for that. But what Zack kind of, like, if anybody who watched that interview where he pushed me the wrong way a little bit, was when we were talking about Monero and talking about why
fungibility,
it's not
right?
Well, yeah, why it's not, the fungibility issue, but then even more so than that was when we're talking about why it's not listed on Coinbase, and him kind of perpetuating this idea is because it's, associated with crime. It's like, so here we are, this is exactly what went wrong with the Tornado Cash case, is that it was framed as being associated for criminal uses only. And, now that when we talk about Monero and why it's not on Coinbase, it's like, well, I mean, the fact is it has this brand of being a coin that's used for crime. Like whether that's the case or not, we should be, pushing against that narrative and not accepting it. Especially people in that position, right? These attorneys, these legal experts, the ones that are kind of the cypherpunk attorneys, right? They should be like behind Monero 110%, not going along with this narrative that, all right, well, it has this brand of criminality. That's why, exchanges might want to be careful with listing it. Like, no, it should be like, listen, exchanges should have no problem listing Monero. Given the way the law is right now, if it is because of a branding issue, that they think it might be associated with crime, well, they're completely wrong in thinking that, and we shouldn't feed into that narrative. That's kind of my biggest, currently biggest issue with what I'm saying in terms of the, what they're, the information, what they're putting out there in terms of their take on things. So. It's a little frustrating considering how far we've come. We're all in the trenches here trying to fight this, And here is Monero, and we don't want to see the same thing happen to Monero. Obviously, Monero is sitting in a very different place than Tornado Cash for all the reasons we talk about, right? It is not some like for-profit service where the developers are making money every time people use it. It's not something where you opt in and use it just for purposes of washing something and cleaning the history of something. It is an independent, publicly accessible protocol that's permissionless, that is functioning as digital cash for whatever purposes those things may be used for. But we don't know how the government's going to react to these things. They may try to frame Monero next as being a tool for only for purposes of money laundering or whatnot, right? With these same accusations that we're seeing with these mixers. So I think it's imperative for the attorneys, everybody that's out here that's fighting for Tornado Cash and Samurai Wallet, to really, really get behind Monero in a public way and make it clear that we cannot accept this narrative that Monero is a tool for doing nefarious things. Because that's how they get us. So we cannot let them own the narrative.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said for that, in the sense that they're sort of the lawyers, the suits have been fighting for Tornado and Samurai, and those are kind of problematic cases. Like, it's still fucked up what the government's doing, obviously, but those are also kind of problematic cases from, and the lawyers are always the ones that are within the boundaries of the law, right? They're the ones that are always telling you about, well, and analyzing, well, what can we do? And, we're just trying to operate, with what we have. They always make a big hoopla over that. And the problem is that within their own framework, that Samurai and Tornado were problematic. And again, it's like, well, okay, guys, y'all fought that front. We want to fight them over there. We don't want to fight them over here. But hey, why is it crickets? Why are y'all fucking crickets when it comes to Monero? You should at least now be establishing, okay, well, Monero has none of those factors. Here's the factors that are important. Let's make sure that we hold this solid ground and start forming a line at our most defensible position, which is Monero. Like, from a legal standpoint, Monero is our most defensible position. Yet it's been fucking crickets from the lawyers and suits about actually coalescing around the thing that we know we can defend legally.
Exactly. Where's the Human Rights Foundation? Why aren't they talking? Why aren't they talking about Monero?
Nowhere to be found. Yeah, they only support Bitcoin shit. So.
Yeah. I mean, Coin Center, they don't often mention Monero by name often, but they do. They lump it in there.
It really should be on the forefront, though.
It should absolutely be on the forefront. It's the most used, untraceable digital cash crypto, right? They talk about Zcash, which is great, which is great too. I'm all for that. But obviously, it's like there's an issue with there of like kind of who's paying their bills, right? Who's paying for them to exist and do their lobbying. Monero, we're not centralized in any way. We don't have any company that we're associated with, any treasury that can go hire Coin Center and ask them to lobby on our behalf. But you would expect them to just do that, right? Without being pressured, if they claim to be what they stand for. And I definitely don't want to shit on them, because I think they do have said a lot of great things. They put out that really important paper a couple of years back that elegantly described the importance of digital cash and why it should be, why it aligns with the values of the United States, and to try to ban anything like that would violate the Constitution and all that. And I think that's great, but we need them out here really vocally backing Monero and helping to frame Monero as a tool that should be accessible to all, the freedom to transact, the freedom to use open source cryptocurrency, the freedom for devs to develop Monero. They say these things in a general sense, but I think it's time to start backing up Monero more directly.
So true. Well said. A nice monologue from both you and Body. Very good. Moving on. We did just cover this a few links ago. CoinCards was hacked, and they kind of sort of seem like they're sort of blaming Monero a little bit, or the Monero community. I'm sure there was no malicious intent. It was just kind of weird how they put out their report. Moving on.
How are they blaming Monero? I didn't pick up on that aspect of it.
Yeah, so on the actual report, let me go back to the previous link I had. Yeah, so there's this Reddit post here, where someone kind of pointed it out. It's, it's kind of like they're blaming Monero. And it reads, the attacker behind this incident used privacy preserving tools, carry out and obscure the fraud, mainly Monero, a tool we've long accepted and supported at CoinCards. We believe in the right to transact privately. We spent years advocating for it, not just from surveillance, but from overreach, censorship, yada, yada. But privacy, like any tool, can be abused. And in this case, it was. What makes this especially difficult is that it came from within a community we've stood beside and supported for years. It's disappointing and frankly disheartening that someone would use Monero to steal a significant amount from a small hardware team like ours. It sucks. And it's like, okay, come on. Like, the Monero community isn't exploiting CoinCards. There's one particular person that happened to use Monero. They took advantage of Monero to exploit CoinCards. And it's not even Monero. I guess they used Monero to steal money and make it untraceable, but they had a vulnerability in their own system that was exploited, allowing users to buy cards without getting charged for it, is what I believe is what happened on the, if you look at the full report.
Yeah,
so it really has nothing to do with Monero. It's just they use Monero.
I mean, I think that was just their attempt at a plea to whoever it was to be like, listen, guys, you're hurting a company that's behind Monero 100%. So I think it was kind of a plea to
super unfortunate,
whoever
and
did the
super
hack.
shitty, undeniably. CoinCards Monero for a long time. They're great. They're amazing. So I'll say to that, if you want to support CoinCards, go buy some gift cards from them, because very unfortunate what happened.
And the thing is that, they have very small margins, right? I think they said they had to sell something like, what did they say, like 50,000 cards to make up the loss that they had?
$500,000 worth of cards.
$500,000 worth of cards to make back what they lost on this hack, because they're only making a small percentage on each sale. So it is for, they've been around 2%. They've been around for a very long time. Always been Monero, Monero first. Very supportive of Monero. Very supportive of MoneroTopia, the things we do. So we're big fans of CoinCards, and it's unfortunate to see this happen. I in no way don't think they're trying to blame Monero. I think that was just their way of saying, like, listen, whoever did this, if you're not just gaining from this and hacking and stealing money, but you're
harming a small business.
You're harming a small project that's very supportive of the cryptocurrency that you use. So unfortunate for them, but I guess hopefully they'll fix they fix this and they'll make it back in sales.
All right, moving on. Next, we've got a post from Monero Research Lab. It reads, consensus reached to move forward with Veridice Inc.'s proposals for formal verification of the Helios-Selene library. Helios/Selene is deemed sufficient for FCMP++. No new curve search is needed. Very cool. Future optimizations may be explored via scientific bounties. Very cool. And then that leads me to the next post, which is from the official Monero account on X. And it reads, the first testnet alpha stressnet for full chain membership proofs will be live soon. So this has got cause for some amount of celebration, is that the first testnet for FCMP++ hard fork of Monero is going to be live very soon. And I think people will be able to partake in that. And it's a quote tweet of another post from Monero Research Lab. And it reads, progress has been made on resolving bugs in the refresh refactor PR, allowing preparations for the FCMP alpha stressnet to advance through additional review time is needed. MRL agreed to proceed with alpha stressnet without waiting for the full scaling design to be settled. 1 out of 3. On bug resolution and review, Jay Berman said, the good news, IMO, is it looks like the refresh refactor PR has effectively gotten rid of blocking bugs Offrin has reported. And Offrin said, most/all of any major issues are resolved. And Jay Berman said, less good news is seems we still need more time for review. And then 3 out of 3, on proceeding with alpha stressnet, Rectium said, In my honest opinion, no need to wait until scaling design is settled before Alpha StressNet. Alpha StressNet is for making sure all the code works with reasonable transaction volume. And Spackle said, agreed, no need to stop alpha testing. So with that being said, alpha testing will be going ahead very soon, which is very exciting, something we've all been waiting for a long time, that a lot of very important people have put a lot of effort, a lot of time into working on it. And a lot of people have donated a lot of money to have this happen. So very cool to see this be progressing along nicely. And next up, we've got a tweet from Wall Street Mav, and it reads, free speech in Europe is disappearing. A controversial European Union proposal dubbed chat control, ooh, this is coming back around the corner. Remember this from years ago? Is gaining momentum with 19 out of 27 EU member states reportedly backing the measure. This plan would mandate that messaging platforms, including WhatsApp, Signal, and Telegram, must scan every message, photo, and video sent by users starting in October, even if end-to-end encryption is in place. Denmark reintroduced the proposal on July 1st, the first day of its EU Council presidency. France, once opposed, is now in favor. Belgium, Hungary, Sweden, Italy, and Spain are also in favor, while Germany remains undecided. However, if Berlin joins the majority, a qualified council vote could push the plan through by mid-October. A qualified majority in the EU Council is achieved when two conditions are met. First, at least 55% of member states, meaning 15 out of 27, must vote in favor. Second, those countries must represent at least 65% of the EU's total population. So it looks like this thing is getting very close to passing. I remember hearing about track control a few years ago. It kind of got pushed down because people fought back against it. People didn't like it for obvious reasons. And looks like it's coming. It's creeping back around the corner. And it could very well be a thing, a real thing. And the scary part, especially, is that it mentions specifically that the platforms must scan every message, photo, and video sent by users, even if end-to-end encryption is in place. Now, what does that mean? Does that mean backdoor keys for the end-to-end encryption? Does that mean local device scanning that then from the local device reports whether it's like CSAM? Don't really know what the details of that means yet, but that doesn't sound very good, to say the least, and doesn't seem to set a good precedent. So we'll be watching this very closely. And of course, this kind of falls in line with what we're seeing all across Europe. People are getting bombarded with requests to confirm their age by taking a selfie and showing a picture of their ID or their driver's license. This is something that's being pushed across Europe and starting to be pushed in even some states in the United States, where people are going to have to be basically identifying themselves just to confirm their age to use something as simple as Spotify, right? Which is pretty insane. And then social media, of course. And then if you want to view certain content that might be deemed as mature, like on social media, you got to use your ID to verify yourself. And that would be all fine and dandy, but they will lock a lot of content that has nothing to do with, like, air quote, adult content, just because maybe it's controversial. And so they're going to try and use all this to have people identify themselves. And obviously having to do this for social media is not a great thing. A lot of people are anon because they want to be able to say what they want to say without being persecuted for it. And so they're going to continue to try and force people to de-anonymize themselves and then push people away who are dissenters, who are not allowed to, air quote, like, use the internet or use services. So unfortunate to see. Moving on. This is a post from Concerned Citizen. It reads, parts of Canada ban hiking in the woods anywhere. Some people argue the fires were manufactured to justify policies like this one. Imagine being a Canadian and told you're no longer legally allowed to go hiking in the woods. Bit by bit, government see to abolish individual freedoms everywhere. And there's a video. Let's go and play this video.
You are not going to believe this. Hiking and even just walking into the woods is now illegal in Nova Scotia.
Stay out of the woods. We are restricting travel and activities that really aren't necessary. So hiking, camping, fishing, and the use of vehicles in the woods are not permitted. Trail systems through woods are off limits.
Fishing, hunting, camping, driving, and again, just walking into the wild is now a crime subject to a $25,000 penalty.
The fine for violating any of these bans, $25,000.
And get this, even people with property in these areas are no longer allowed to explore them.
If you have a home or cottage surrounded by a wooded area, we strongly encourage you to stay out of those woods. Don't do anything that could unnecessarily put you, your family, or your neighbors at risk.
The justification for these sweeping climate lockdowns is last year's wildfires, which destroyed over 200 homes, but critics aren't buying it, especially with the visible activity seen before and during those disasters. Some argue the fires themselves were no accident, but rather engineered events meant to justify policies like this one. And now here.
So that is pretty insane.
It's pretty wild. I did see
wild.
somebody post this morning too. She had showed him in this video. I don't know the guy's name. I don't know.
The guy who actually was fined $25,000
Yes.
for hiking in the woods. I did see that this morning. Yeah.
Wild.
Absolutely insane. And whether or not, like she was saying, the fires were intentional or not, they're taking advantage of this unfortunate situation to put absolutely insane restrictions on people's movement. And it's like, okay, wildfires are a concern. That's something that everyone's concerned about, especially in the drier times of the year. But these kinds of restrictions are absolutely insane and definitely not because of potential wildfires. It's $25,000 fine for hiking in the woods is fucking crazy. And that goes way beyond any forest fire concerns. So very, very, very insane. But it's also Canada, so I'm really surprised.
Canada always on the cutting edge of dystopia.
Oh, Canada. Moving on. We got a post from our good friend Drunk Dial Me, and it says, rented $500 of Monero Hash over the next 150 hours, doubling up Friday. If I can figure it out, so can you. Mine on your laptop or throw $5 of electricity at bankrupting the Q pricks and Fed from behinds. Nice. State actor stress test for the next 2 weeks or 100K if you're a whale. Well, thank you for your service, Drunk Dial Me. Always appreciate it. And you can rent hash rate. This is possible. I think there might be a link to the website under this quote tweet, potentially.
What is it like? Yes, if I rented $1,000 worth of Monero Hash, how much Monero are you walking away with?
That would be interesting to calculate. I'm trying to find right now the hash rent. If someone has a link to that, feel free to send it because I don't have it on me right now. But there is a website that allows you to. It has a bunch of different options. People can basically put up their servers and make them rentable, and then you can rent those people's servers for a certain amount of time, and like all the price is already pre-done. So that's what he's doing. That'd be interesting to calculate how much Monero you can actually get away from, because that is one thing to mention. It's like, yeah, you're spending some money to, you're probably spending the money not to make a lot of money, but because you want to support the network. But at the same time, you do get some back. So it's not like you're losing $500 because you paid
right.
$500
Yeah, I wonder how much it is you do get back, right? Curious.
Yeah, Drunk Tell Me, if you have that calculated, feel free to let us know because we'd be interested how much you think you're going to get back from that $500. That would help people make a more informed decision on if they want to do this or not, because it is in some ways a good deal if you think about it, because you are getting non-KYC XMR, right?
Yeah,
totally
exactly.
non-KYC. So
at a very low price, right? As we're helping the network,
Yep.
so odds are you'll end up in the positive for sure. Yeah, and Zeno Monero, I think Zeno put out the a video on I guess on how best to do this. What are they advising to use? I don't even know. Like what?
Yeah, let's see. Let me scroll through his page real quick because I believe he do.
By the way, looking to have him on Monero Talk this upcoming week. So that'd be nice. He's doing a great job, by the way. Anti-Moon Boy. Yeah,
dude is super goated. Love his content. I'm not seeing it immediately on my feed for some reason. But yeah, Zeno, he made a video showing how you can rent hash rate. So if you want to see how to do that, you can go to his Twitter account, or you can go to his YouTube channel, and he's got a nice video showing how to do that. So awesome stuff there. And yeah, once again, everyone, there's a lot of people asking, how can I help? How can we deal with this? Well, one of the most simplest ways you can help is just, you got some spare computers sitting around, just start mining on them, right? If you can afford to deal with the potential heat and the little bit of electricity cost, then just start mining on them, and you will be rewarded through P2Pool. And use P2Pool as well. Don't use the big mining pools. Use P2Pool specifically. So, and last up, we've got a post from our favorite controversial individual, Monero Maverick. And this is a video of Nick Fuentes actually talking about Monero this time. And this post reads, quote, "The federal government can see every transaction unless you're using Monero." Let's go ahead and play this clip.
Like, do you think the federal government cannot see every transaction that you're doing unless you're using Monero? And Monero, they're making impossible to use. Monero, like, they're banning certain wallets from even hosting it. They're trying to control it with on-ramps and off-ramps. Bitcoin is all traceable. Signal was probably created by the NSA with a backdoor. So it's like, you know, you say something like, well, they're just bringing back banking so like Palantir can look at it. Dude, Palantir controls everything. They have Pegasus. Pegasus can look at what's on your screen on your phone when you're using it. If you call 911, Carbine is going to hear it. If you use Twitter, they can hear it. If you're on Facebook and Instagram, they can hear it. Okay?
So you're here to hear first. The federal government can see all of your transactions unless you're using Monero.
He is
Credit where it's
very
due.
aware of Monero. We need Nick Fuentes using XMR chat for his super chats. That would be a moment.
Yeah, funny enough, the current platform he uses for his super chats, it's called Entropy, and it's some like foreign company, which is why if you're in the US and you use it, then you have to pay like foreign transaction fees. Because this guy would know more than anyone else about why this is important, because this guy's been totally debanked for years. He was on a federal no-fly list for several years. He's one of the most censored people in the US, so he would understand more than anybody why this is important. And it's cool to see him talking about it just a little bit. I think in a more black-pilled way, you know, kind of like they control everything, but also admitting that really the only way your transactions will be untraceable or not seen by the federal government is if you use something like Monero. Yeah.
Well, if anybody has access to Nick, or is, you know, follow his feeds a lot and is trying to always send him super chats, please try to compel him to check out xmrchat.com for super chats.
Given everything that happened a few months ago, I think it's important to say credit where credit's due, right? The Monero Society, Maverick, and I think it was Numismatic, were pushing, you know, they were basically sending donations to this guy mentioning Monero, kind of, you know, at least on 2 or 3 different occasions. So good on the
yeah, I had sent a couple in the past, and then the
Hitler Youth, right?
I can't pronounce his name. The guy you mentioned.
The Hitler Youth finally did something productive.
Yeah, good job. Like, okay, Hitler Youth, like you did something. This is actually like, I actually want to like, lovingly call them the Hitler Youth in this moment.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think they would even totally disagree.
Yeah, I mean, we've always said, right? Like Mav, whatever, very controversial figure, but he has done things for growing Monero, right? I'm not going to deny that, right? You know, he's
yeah. I think you guys have
done a good job with getting the word out. We've always said that.
Than like not, honestly.
No, I've always qualified my comments by saying that it's just the concern that you know, what he was trying to turn the brand into. Given how large his voice has become, if he was insignificant, it wouldn't be concerned. I mean, that the fact is he has a large following, so it's just, yes, Monero can be used for all these things. It's just whatever. I don't need to repeat myself, but yeah, kudos to him, that group there for getting the attention of Nick Fuentes. Let's see if we get him to use xmrchat.com. Get him to start accepting Monero super chats. Sure, I'm not about to say I agree with everything Nick Fuentes says, but would love to see him using Monero, because, you know, that just shows utility, shows it's working, and it's providing utility.
I don't know why, but I think about Nick Fuentes similar to Tucker Carlson for some reason. Like, he's like Tucker Carlson's younger cousin or something like that. I don't know. I mean,
they're both feds. They're both feds.
CIA. Tucker Carlson is literally
this
a
is
fed. His dad
he
worked
is actually
for the CIA.
literally a fed. Yeah. This does has Nick Fuentes has this black, like you mentioned, Tux. There's this black pill slant to it. Like it's all tracked, and unless you're using Monero, but you can't even use Monero because they're just like crushing it. Like it's a little bit black pilled.
I mean, you gotta like understand where he's coming from. I mean, since he was a kid, this guy has been absolutely like everyone's been trying to destroy him. They've been out to get him since he was like 18 years old. So you know, at some point you would become a little bit black pilled, being in a position like his. But once again, he admits he's like, your transactions are totally traceable unless you use Monero. So,
I mean, he's not exactly wrong, is the thing. Like he's pretty close to the truth, at least in this case right here. And I do like a lot of the
he
things
is
that
right
says
because
in
they are
general.
trying to attack Monero. But I think this is a good thing that we should continue talking about. It's like we need to use it, promote the shit out of it, get all these big influencers to become aware of it, at least mentioning it. Like there's been so many mentions from larger influencers recently. I keep seeing them pop up. So keep doing that, and it'll just become bigger naturally. It'll grow, and it'll be so much harder to suppress it once these big people are aware of it and talk about it. It'll be so much harder to just kind of leave it in the dust. Because I think once again, the main stance is to just from the government is to not objectively shut it down, but is just kind of ignore it, kind of suppress it behind the scenes using things like Cubic and all this bullshit FUD to suppress the price, push it down, make people uninterested. And ultimately, if they can do that, then they've won. So they don't have to say anything. They don't have to mention it, right? They can win without even mentioning it. So we just have to keep promoting it and being loud about it and using it